No. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I ask Allah to make this another beneficial sitting where we are studying the adhkar that our Messenger alayhi salam has left for us and what has been prescribed in his Sharia. Last week we looked at some of the adhkar and the adiyah that we can make when we put on our clothes and when we take off our clothes. And bi'idhnillah, today we're going to look at something else that we do on a daily basis and the adhkar surrounding those. So now we are at chapter number 6, and bi'idhnillah, today we'll take chapter number 6 and number 7. And chapter number 6 is the dua for dukhul al-Khala. Dua dukhul al-Khala. And that's the dua that you make for entering the place where you are going to relieve yourself. And the ulama have said that this dua is to be said in any place that you are entering to relieve yourself, whether it's a bathroom, whether it's a cubicle, whether it's open space or not. Because this narration here that we have is the first hadith to be reported by Bukhari and Muslim. And it's come also on the authority of Anas bin Malik radiallahu anh, who said that the Prophet ﷺ, before he used to enter, إِذَا أَرَادَ أَن يَدْخُلْ, he used to say this. So this is now, we learn from this that it includes any place of relieving oneself, irrespective of whether the person is going to actually relieve himself or not, or have a shower. It's been narrated here in this hadith, which is hadith number 10, that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Bismillah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khabaithi. Allahumma means, Oh Allah. And we looked at Bismillah and some of the virtues last week. The Prophet ﷺ used to start with Bismillah to seek Allah's assistance and to remove any harm from happening and for that action to be blessed. Here we have him saying Bismillah before he enters the bathroom. Bismillah, Allahumma. And Allahumma means, Oh Allah. Therefore it's a supplication. And like we saw in the very beginning of this class, we know that adhkar are of two types, either a dhikr which is for mas'ala or a dhikr which is dua. A dhikr which is ibadah or a dhikr which is mas'ala. And dhikr which is dua is known as dua, as supplication. And dhikr which is mas'ala is known as a dhikr. So all of this is, as the author has put down here, which is dua dukhul, what's the supplication for entering. It's a supplication as well as it being a form of dhikr. So we say Allahumma as in we are supplicating to him and we are remembering him at the same time. What is the meaning of the name Allah? So we're saying, Oh Allah. What is the meaning of Allah? Some of the ulama have differed, unfortunately, even according to the name and the meaning of Allah. And this shows you why Aqidah and Tawhid and Iman is extremely important, that we understand it very correctly. Because these are the questions that we will be asked in our grave. And how can you have a fruitful life if you don't even know the basics of Iman and Tawhid and Aqidah? So some of the people have said Allah means that He is a creator. And some of them have said Allah means is somebody that we subdue ourselves to. But both of these meanings are incorrect. The meaning of Allah is not that He is the creator. And the meaning of Allah is not that it is something we subdue ourselves to. Even though that these meanings for Allah are correct, but it's not the meaning of Allah. Yes, Allah is the creator. Allah is our master that we subdue ourselves to. But what is the meaning of the name Allah? And many from the ulama have said Allah comes from the root word al-ilah. And al-Ilah is the deity that is worshipped alone. But that worship has to come with awe and love and submission. This is the meaning of Allah, which is a deity that is worshipped with awe and love. So when we are saying Allahumma, or when we are saying Allah's name in general, this is the meaning of the name of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Allahumma inni, O Allah, I seek refuge in you alone. A'udhu bik. The meaning of a'udh has been translated, I believe, here as something that you seek protection in or seek refuge in. And this is the linguistic definition. This is the translation of the word also. Refuge is something that you seek protection in. But the ulama have said, when you seek refuge in something, you seek protection in that thing from something that is going to be harmful for you. But it also means that you seek hidayah and guidance from that thing also. Therefore, when you have an object that you are seeking refuge in, you want that thing to protect you, but you want that thing to also push you in the right direction afterwards. This is the meaning when you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. This is the meaning of at-ta'awudh. Ta'awudh is the Arabic definition of saying A'udhu billah. Allahumma inni a'udhu. So what we learn from this also, that it's permitted for a person to seek protection in Allah Jalla wa Ala when we are reciting the Quran, but also in our dunya affairs. Therefore, when we say A'udhu billah, wa a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, or any other kind of wording that the ta'awudh comes in, what we are doing is we are seeking protection in Allah in our dunya and in our deen. And what we are doing by this is we are saying, oh Allah, protect us from misguidance, and oh Allah, place us on the path of guidance, so that you are the one alone that can repel us from harm, and you are the one alone that can gain us from benefiting. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, in defining what a'udhu refers to in ta'awudh, he said, is to seek refuge in something, and seeking refuge in something means you turn to that thing, and you escape to that thing, and you place all of your affairs, and you entrust it on that thing. Now we know when people say a'udhu, it can be for the sake of Allah, but it can also be for the sake of the Shayatin, as we will see in our lecture here. So this is what it means by seeking refuge. Seeking refuge means that we turn to Him, we escape to Him, and we want Him to protect us and to repel us from the harm that we fear, but we also want His assistance in aiding us with the good that we want also. Allahumma inni a'udhu. Why have certain actions been prescribed by beginning with the ta'awudh, by saying A'udhu Billah? Some of the Mufassirun have said that whenever you say A'udhu Billah, it usually refers to, and this is from the ijtihad, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's binding in all cases, but it's very interesting how some of the ulama explained it. They've said, we start A'udhu with any action which we want to remove our own negation and imperfection from. So this is the hikmah. So for example, why do we say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim before we recite the Quran? Because our tongues have najasa on them. Our tongues have impurity on them. The impurity of lying, the impurity of ghiba, the impurity of namima, of backbiting and spreading tales, etc. So when we want to start reciting the uncreated kalam of Allah, we say a'udhu from our own desires and our own shortcomings and our own whims, in order to purify ourselves before we start that action. Some of the ulama have also said that when you do the ta'awudh, following on with what we've just mentioned, or when you do the ta'awudh, your tongue then will become tahir, it will become clean and pure. So when you do the ta'awudh, when you say A'udhu Billah or A'udhu Billahi minash shaitanir rajim before you enter the bathroom, or before you recite the Quran, or before you do other actions that have been prescribed for you to say the ta'awudh before, what you are doing is you're removing deficiency from yourself, so the action that you are about to do, that you benefit from it in the best manner. The Prophet ﷺ used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khabaithi. And there are two ways of saying khubuth. Either you say khubuthi with the dhamma upon the ba, khubuthi, or you put a sukoon on the ba and say khubthi, khubthi. And the meaning of khubthi is the actual najasa itself. So Allah, seek refuge in you from the impurities of this place. And if we say khubthi and khaba'ithi, it means the impure thing and the plural of the impure thing. So for example, there may be one thing which is impure, and you are walking into this bathroom and you think, oh Allah, protect me from this impure thing that I am about to do, and all of the other impure things that will result from that impurity. That's the meaning of khubthi. But if we put a dhamma on top of the ba and say khubuthi, that now, the ulama have said, refers to the masculine jinn, the masculine shaitan that resides in the places of najasa, or the places of impurity. So this dua, or this dhikr, can be said in two ways. Allahumma inni, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from the khubuthi and the khabaithi. So if we say khubuthi, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from the male and female shayatin that reside in the places of najasa, of impurity. And khubthi, or wal khabaithi, that means, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from the impurities of this place, and the impurity of this place and the impurities of this place. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said that this clearly shows, if we combine both meanings here, that the shayateen love the places of najasa, the places of impurity. And we know that impurity and najasa can either be something which is physical, like urine and other things which are physically impure, and if you had to touch them, you'd have to wash the impurity off. But it can also be metaphorical, like Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, is in other places. And living in the time that we are in, if we look at the types of impurity, the metaphorical and the physical, we will see the hikmah of this dua, as we will explain as this lecture goes on. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said that the shayateen love to descend upon the places of physical and metaphorical impurity. Allah says in the Quran, وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Again, we have ta'awudh here. And Allah Jalla wa Ala is saying here, He's commanding us, our Lord, I seek refuge in you from the whispers and from the evil speech and the idleness of these shayateen. Again, starts off with yourself and asking Allah to remove any kind of deficiency from yourself so that you can benefit from that protection that is going to come afterwards. And we looked at that just a minute ago from the hikmah of the ta'awudh. But also, this carries on, this ayah, وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ رَبِّي أَن يَحْضُرُونَ. And I seek refuge in you, Ya Allah, my Lord, that they surround me, and they descend upon me, and they make it a habit of accompanying me. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is saying that this only happens if you are in the places of najasa, physical najasa or metaphorical najasa, places of sihr, places of shirk, places of ma'asi, of sins, places of people backbiting one another and destroying each other, either physically and metaphorically. So this is what this ayah refers to. And then Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah goes on to say that if you are protected from these kind of najasa, the angels will descend upon you. So either you have one or the other. The angels will descend upon you, and the angels do not descend upon places of khubuthi and khaba'ith. There's also a weak narration which has been mentioned, is weakened by some of the ulama. Some of the ulama said it's Hassan, but its weakness is more apparent, where some of the shayateen made a dua to Allah Jalla wa Ala when they came onto earth, and they said, Oh Allah, make us for a house in the dunya. Make us for a place to reside in the dunya. So Allah Jalla wa Ala made the places of Khubuthi and the Khaba'ithi the houses of the Shayatin. Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah said that the person who is truly intelligent will be aware that there is an enemy who wants to harm you, and he is very aggressive in the way that he tries to harm you. And this aggression is evident from the very creation of your father Adam alayhi salam. Even when a soul was inside of him, he was jealous, he was envious, and he wanted to physically destroy him. And so how would it be when the soul gets pushed into him, and how would it be when his progeny gets multiplied? How would it be when they get placed on the earth and they have many beauties and luxuries given to them? The level of aggression will get worse. And what we learn, Ibn Jawzi rahimahullah carries on, he says, what we learn also from the habits of the Shayateen is that they have devoted their own lives to try and corrupt the lives of mankind. To try and corrupt the lives of mankind. So clearly when we are making ta'awudh against the Shayateen before we recite the Quran and before we go into the bathroom, it is for a very important reason. What are some of the benefits of making ta'awudh? Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that when you make the ta'awudh, and like we said before, when you say a'udhu billah, what you are doing is you are asking for Allah's protection, and not only protection from that thing that you fear, but for you to be set aright and guided from that thing that they are trying to misguide you in. So when you make this ta'awudh, when you say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, from one of the biggest benefits that Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said is that Allah returns you on a path which was better than the path that you were on before you made that ta'awudh. So before, for example, you come and you want to recite the Quran, if you sincerely say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and you open that mushaf and you start reciting the Quran, that situation that you are in, by the time you have finished the Quran, you will have benefited from reciting the Quran, physically and mentally, spiritually and intellectually. So when you fear a harm, an actual harm, or when you fear misguidance, Ibn al-Qayyim is saying, is that you seek Allah's protection. And when that person who is sincere, and Allah gives that person that tawfiq, may Allah make us of them, Allah will grant that person the protection that he seeks, and he will return into a state where there is no fear anymore, and that he has benefited through that process. And this is why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, like we said before, what we will try and do is we're trying to incorporate the 100 benefits that he has mentioned in the beginning of Wab al-Sayyib. And the very first benefit, he said, of making dhikr is that it repels you from the shaitan. And it destroys him, and it reduces his plots to absolutely nothing. I remember when I was in Saudi Arabia, there was a person, there was a video that was being sent around. I don't know if you've seen it, maybe. There was a Saudi person, he went to New York, and he went there for visiting. And the video shows him walking, and he walks past a man, and this man has something in front of him, and he's blowing it, and that thing is moving, hovering in front of him. There's no nets, there's no strings, there's no nothing. He's sitting on the floor, and he's got this thing in front of him, and he's blowing it, and he's showing the people that this is a trick that I'm doing, this entertainment. The Saudi man was walking past him, and he says, "A'udhu billah," and the whole thing fell down. The whole thing fell down. So this clearly shows what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying is true, and if we can see that physically in our lives, then imagine the spiritual and the metaphorical difference it will have for us if we understand the true benefits of A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says, it repels the shaitan, it destroys him, and it weakens his plots. Some of the ulama have said that the Tawhid that we believe in, or the oneness of Allah, La ilaha illallah, is directly connected to saying A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. And what we learn is that one of the biggest acts of worship that a person can do is to believe and know who Allah is, Allahumma, and then to seek refuge in Him for all of the things that you fear. And when you do that, Allah will set right for you all the things that you hope for. Because He's the only one that can give, and He's the only one that can protect, and the only one that can bless, and He's the only one that can restore. And there are so many things that you can gain from seeking refuge in Him. Allah says in the Quran, وَيَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِالدُّرِّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُ. If Allah afflicts a person with some kind of difficulty, some kind of illness, some kind of difficulty in his life, there's none that can remove it except Allah Jalla wa Ala. This is the pinnacle of Tawhid. But also we learn that people through ta'awudh have fallen into shirk. Allah says in Surah Jinn, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِّنَ الْإِنسِ. There used to be men, and this is the jinn they are talking about themselves. When they heard the call of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they heard him reciting the Quran. And the tafsir of this, Ibn Masud said he was there, and others from the companions. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed them that when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah says also in the Quran, Surah Jinn, that when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reciting the Quran, the jinns, they heard this Quran being recited. So they came and they wanted to listen. And they said to one another, this is what we have been waiting for. In Ba'di Musa, there's a prophet that's going to come after Musa, and this is the book that he's come with. So when the Prophet ﷺ on one occasion was reciting the Quran, تَكُونُ عَلَيْهِ لِبَدًا, and they started multiplying the presence of the jinn to try and listen to the speech of Allah through the Prophet ﷺ. And in Surah Jinn, and this is the full surah which talks about the incident, so you can go back to the tafsir of this surah, they were talking about how they were misguided in their own jahiliyyah. In their own jahiliyyah. And they said, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِّنَ الْإِنسِ. There used to be a group of men, they used to come to us, jinn, and they used to seek refuge in us. يَعُوذُونَ بِرِجَالٍ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا. And that only increased them in destruction. That only increased them in the lack of protection, in the lack of guidance, in the lack of anything which had any kind of substance in their life. They thought that they were being protected, but they weren't. And it's been mentioned in the books of tafsir of this, that in the Jahiliyyah, the people of the Quraysh and the various mushrik tribes, whenever they used to go past a valley, or whenever they used to travel, or even in their own cities, they used to seek refuge in the jinn. And they used to say, أَعُوذُ بِسَيِّدْ هَذَا الْوَادِي. If they were traveling, they used to say, I seek refuge in the master of this valley, or this motorway, or this road. مِنْ شَرِّ سُفَهَاء قَوْمِهِ. That he protects us from the foolishness of the people that are in his tribe. So they used to seek refuge from the master of the jinn. And when they used to do that, they used to end up worshipping that master. When that master was worshipped, he used to be happy. And he used to grant them protection from the rest of the shayatin that were there. So what this led afterwards with the Muslims, with the humans, not the Muslims, the humans of Jahiliyyah, is that they ended up falling in believing into superstition, into omens, and shirk upon shirk. Because they used to make ta'awudh for things other than Allah. Then they started taking bracelets, started taking amulets, started tying knots, and all of those became as a form of seeking protection. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says, when we seek protection in Allah, there are two things that we are seeking protection from. And both of them are shayatin. There are shayatin, some of them are shayatin of the men, and some of them and their actions, and some of them are shayatin of the jinn and their actions. And Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says, one of the best ways that you can repel the shayateen is to seek refuge in Allah. And when you seek refuge in Allah, again like we've said, and we'll put this into context again here, you seek refuge in Allah from the evilness of what this man is calling you to. Maybe it's a sin, maybe it's a deviation in aqeedah, maybe it's an innovation, maybe it's something that you know is not right. So you seek refuge in Allah, a'udhu billah, from what this person is saying or what this person is doing. And when you do that, what you are saying to Allah Jalla wa Ala in this supplication, oh Allah, help me protect myself from what this person is telling me to do, and give me the guidance to know why this is wrong. And the more you increase in this, then the more you are able to spread khair. Because you'll be able to tell the brother, look, what you're doing is wrong. You need to stop it, etc. This is the Shayatin of the men. But Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that the dhikr that can be made for the Shayatin of the men is harder to repel than the Shayatin of the jinn. Because if the Shayatin from the jinn want to harm you, it's very easy for you to get rid of it, either by ruqyah, either by seeking ta'awudh, because they can't handle dhikr. If a shaitan from the man comes to you and you say, A'udhu billah, it might not necessarily be enough. But from shayateen, we are able to have it. Allah says in the Quran, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Be pardoning and order what is good. وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. And stay away from those people who are ignorant. وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ. And if a bad thought comes to you, if some kind of whisper from shaitan comes to you, or even a voice from shaitan, نَزْغًا فَاسْتَئِذْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Seek refuge in Allah. Allah is hearing, Allah is ever knowing, and if you continue in this, the shayateen will not be able to stay. But Allah also says in another ayah about the shayateen, وَلَا تَسْتَوِ الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا سَيِّئَةُ. That good and bad are not the same. إِدْفَأْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. If somebody is trying to do bad to you from the men, then repel it in the best way. If he's saying bad things to you, you say good things to him. If he's trying to harm you, you're trying to don't harm him back. If he is trying to take something from you which he has no right to, then give it to him. Do it in the best way. Respond in the best way. And if you do that, Allah Jalla wa Ala says, فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ أَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. If there is an enmity, if he's trying to be bad to you, or if you are nice to him back, what will happen is that will create unity and create friendship. Because he will see that this person is a good person, he's not a bad person. I don't know why I'm behaving like this. But then what happens? وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا. The only people that will be able to repel this in a good way are those people who are patient. وَمَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَظٍّ عَظِيمٍ وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَئِذْ بِاللَّهِ. And Allah says again, if a thought comes to you from shaitan, seek refuge in Allah from that shaitan. Now if you look at this second context of ayat, Allah is talking about you're dealing with humans. But in the first context of the ayat, Allah is talking about the dealings that we have with the shayateen. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying that when the shayateen from the jinn come, dhikr can repel it. But when the shayateen from the men come, it has to be a bit more. Good manners, good attitude, learn what they are saying, know why it's wrong, so that you can repair it through your manners and through your guidance that Allah gives you intellectually, and you can advise. What are some of the benefits that we learn from saying A'udhu Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-Khubth wal Khubuth? Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said that it's only the good soul that has a good character, good personality and good behavior, that when they are seeking Allah's refuge, Allah will give them that protection. And when Allah gives that good soul the protection, then the shaitan has no way over him. So if there is a problem with us, and when we are saying A'udhu and we're not benefiting from the Quran, if we're saying A'udhu and we're not benefiting from the Dhikr, and we're saying A'udhu and we're not benefiting from the things that we want to repel from ourselves, then Ibn Kathir rahimahullah is saying that the first thing we need to look at is ourselves. Where are we weakened? Why are we not strong with Allah? Where is our connection? Because if there is a problem in the connection, Ibn Kathir rahimahullah is saying, then you will not accomplish the leverage that you are trying to get over shaitan. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said also from the benefits of saying A'udhu Billah is that the shaitan, and this is before you go into the bathroom, the shaitan want to expose you and your private parts. Why do we say Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-Khubth? Because this is the time that throughout your day you're covered. You have respect, you have morals, you have honor, you have dignity, and if you're doing this on a daily basis, then your speech and your actions and all of these things would obviously become good and beautified also. But when you go to the bathroom, you take this all off. And when you take this all off, this is when the shaitan wants to get you. Because you are now naked, and your personality will become naked, and your attitude and your behavior can become naked. And now it's a fresh place for him to target you. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying that the Shayatin, when you enter these places, they want to expose you. They want to expose your private parts. And eventually, when your aura is open, so when your aura is not open, they continually try and corrupt people. Open, start letting your clothes off, let your dignity off, expose your private parts in front of other people, expose your indignity in front of other people, and your behavior, your morality, take it all away. This is when you're not in the bathroom. But when you're in the bathroom, when you're forced to open your aura, what he wants you to do is he wants to harm you in this place also. So Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah is saying that the person who wants to live a proper life will seek to be dignified and have morals and good etiquettes and behavior and beautify his body and his actions and his speech and his character in the best way. And when he goes into the bathroom, he seeks refuge in Allah so that none of this is compromised. Now if you think about what he's saying here, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, imagine what he would say if he were alive today, where perversion is absolutely everywhere. You're driving, you see posters, and you see it's absolutely everywhere. And this is from the handiworks of the Shayatin, as Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah is saying here, when people want to sacrifice their behavior and their dignity. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah also talks about some of the benefits between Falaq and an-Nas, because both of them, Allah Jalla wa Ala commands us to say, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. It's a command for everyone from this ummah, for you to be protected on a daily basis. Do Falaq and Nas. But why does Allah say Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, and then why does Allah say Qul a'udhu bi rabbil nas? Why are there two separate surahs? Why is this surah saying one thing and another surah has a different message? Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said that, so when you say Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq and Qul a'udhu bi rabbil nas, this is a message for those people who have Iman and Tawhid. This is a message and a refuge point for the muwahhideen. And these muwahhideen, they want to seek refuge from the evil that Allah has created. And that evil will make them no longer muwahhideen. No tawheed, no iman. In Surah Falaq, Allah Jalla wa Ala tells us to seek refuge in the actions what these people do. Falaq, min sharri ma khalaq, the evil that you have created, and the evil of envy, the evil of the whispers, the evil of hating one another. All of these are actions upon actions. But in Nas, Allah Jalla wa Ala is telling us to seek refuge in the internal connection that we have with Allah and the effects of those actions that can have. So if a person is envious, he doesn't realize that Allah is Malikin Nas and Ilahin Nas. Min sharril waswasil khannas. When you have those whispers, you become envious. When you have those internal problems, you will do those external things that happen in Surah Falaq. So Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah is benefiting by saying here that we have been commanded to say A'udhu on a daily basis, not just when we go to the bathroom, but what that will do is it will remove weakness from yourself, it will remove faults from yourself, and it will remove any kind of difficulty, and it will make you from the muwahhideen. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-Khubth wal Khubuth. The next chapter is, the 7th chapter is Dua Khuruj min al-Khala. What is the dua that we say when we leave the bathroom? And it's simply narrated in many of the books of the Sunan, not just one, Messiah, Abu Dawood, etc., that the Prophet ﷺ used to say, Gufranaka, Gufranaka. And Gufranaka is connected to Maghfirah. Gufranaka is connected to al-Maghfirah. And al-Maghfirah refers to a person seeking Allah's protection from the fire, from the punishment that Allah has created. That's one part of Maghfirah. So when you say Allah Maghfirli, that means, oh Allah, protect me from your fire. But it also means, oh Allah, conceal me. I have many mistakes, I have many problems, I have many weaknesses. This is in a general status of our lives. So Allah, have maghfirah on me. When we say Allah maghfirah, don't make me exposed to these people with the weaknesses that I have. Make me better. and save me from your fire. So why do we say this when we leave the bathroom? Why do we say Ghufranaka when we leave the bathroom? Now, once we understand what Maghfirah is, maybe it's a bit more obvious now why we say Ghufranaka when we leave the bathroom. We are saying, what we are saying with Ghufranaka, we say, oh Allah, do not punish us with the impurities and the evil that you have created the creation with. Ghufranaka. And oh Allah, conceal me for my deficiencies and my weaknesses and the things that I have to do which are not very nice. Some of the ulama have said when we say Ghufranaka, we are actually thanking Allah that He accepted our dua when we went in. Oh Allah, you protected us from the impurities and you have made us clean from a period that we feared impurities. And without that, it would have been very harmful for me, spiritually and physically. Imagine you can't go to the bathroom. What would happen? You get diseases, you have problems, najasa will come. So some of the ulama have said when we say Ghufranaka, it means Alhamdulillah. It means thank you to Allah that you have enabled us to protect ourselves from our own impurities and from the evilness of such a place. And you have made us purified after that period of indignity that we had to have. Some of the ulama have said, oh Allah, Ghufranaka, oh Allah, I seek your pardon from the shameful acts that I have to do. Allah is watching you, and you know He is watching you. And you know that you have a connection with Him outside of that bathroom. So when you go into that bathroom, you have to do something which is not befitting for a person that wants to remember Allah. And it's a period of shame. It's a period of you degrading yourself. It's a period of humiliation, so to speak. So you are saying, Ghufranaka, oh Allah, my Lord, I know that you're watching me. Pardon me for the shameful acts that I have to do. Some of the ulama have said, oh Allah, pardon me for a period where I was not able to remember you. Aisha radiallahu anha said that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kana yadhkuru Allah fi kulli ahyan. He used to remember Allah in every single affair. When he was sleeping, when he was waking up, when he was lying down, when he was eating, when he was drinking. So when he goes into the bathroom, that's a period when he cannot remember Allah. So some of the ulama have said that that period, that 10 minutes, that 5 minutes, he didn't remember Allah. He's come out and he's asking Allah's pardon for not remembering and not being conscious of you physically, verbally, for that period. Some of the ulama have said that when we say Ghufranak, it is talking about the blessings and the favor of Allah, that He converted something which was undesirable, in an undesirable state. When you have those feelings, you need to go to the bathroom, maybe pain, maybe discomfort, that Allah has taken that discomfort away from you and He's put you into a period of desirability. You are upright again. You are okay again. Your belly is empty again. Your bladder is empty again, and you can function normally again. And this now, if you think about all of what we have said, that all of this has, a daily aspect to our lives, but it should also have a spiritual and a deeper meaning behind it. Because all of this, and every single action, like al-Qayyim and many from the ulama have said that in every single thing that we do is a sign of Allah's oneness. And in every single aspect of our life, there is a sign that we will be resurrected to Him, Jalla wa Ala. Some of the ulama have said that the bathroom is not a desirable place, and it could be a place where you're overcome by the Shayatin. So when you say Ghufranaka, you are thanking Allah again, you are thanking Allah that the Shayatin couldn't overcome you. Like we said before, why do we say Allah many other bika? Because outside of the bathroom, they want to harm you. They want you to take your clothes off. They want you to expose your indecencies. But if you can't do that there, they will try and get you in the bathroom. Even when you go in the bathroom and you are protected, some of the ulama have said when you say Ghufranaka, you are saying thank you to Allah that He has protected you. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ. Those people who have iman and taqwa, when an aspect of wasawis or aspect of shaitan hits them, min ash-shaitan tadhakkaru, they remember Allah. So then when you leave the bathroom, maybe you've had some bad thoughts, maybe something saw you and you're not aware, maybe there was some najas on your body, you had to clean yourself. You saying Ghufranaka after when you leave you are seeing upright again. You are seeing upright again. تذكروا فإذا هم مبصرون. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and this is from the fiqh of this man, may Allah have mercy on him, says that there is a direct parable between your life and your resurrection to you going to the bathroom. He said rahimahullah that the reality of the dunya is exactly like the bathroom. The reality of the dunya is exactly like the bathroom. He said every single one of us have senses. We need to eat. We need to drink. This is human beings. Every single one of us have to live in the dunya in this manner. We all have basic needs. Okay, that's point number one. Point number two, if we understand that every single one of us, humans, jinn, animals, have these senses and basic needs, then it doesn't matter how much luxury that you have, or how much strong of an animal you are, or how weak of an animal you are, how strong of a jinn you are, or how shaitanic of a jinn you are, or how less shaitanic of a jinn you are, how much poverty you have in the dunya, or how much luxury you have in the dunya, as a man, as a human being, as from mankind, it doesn't matter, because every single one of those go through those senses and needs. Otherwise, you will not be alive. It doesn't matter if you are driving a fancy car or if you're driving a very poor car. It doesn't matter if you're eating the best of meals every single day or if you're having the worst of meals. You have to have those things to stay alive. It doesn't matter about your status. Again, this shows you now, dunya and akhirah. It shows you that you are a slave of Allah, irrespective of how much money you have. How is it connected to the bathroom? Because of those senses and because of those needs, human, man, jinn, insects, anything which is alive needs to go to the bathroom. Needs to relieve themselves from those needs. Otherwise, again, they won't be allowed to live. They will biologically not be able to live. This is the point now. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is saying, no matter how you have sustained your life, whether it's by a nice meal or a bad meal, whether it's by a halal drink or a haram drink, whether it's a lion that eats a small predator or a small animal who has some shrubs or plants to eat, what happens is that you take that part of the dunya and you put it inside your body to live. What happens to that dunya? It becomes waste. That dunya, irrespective of whether it's a big meal or a small meal, irrespective if it's a big house or a small house, a nice car or not a nice car, all of it is going to become waste. All of it's going to fade away from you. A person could feed himself on a £100 meal, and another person feeds himself on a £1 meal. They both go to the bathroom at the same time, do exactly the same thing, and it goes to the exact same place. That's the nature, the haqiqah, that's the reality of the dunya. The dunya is going to reduce itself to something which has no value, something which is of regret for most people, and it will fade away from them. Just to finish today's lecture, bi'idhnillah, we have a few points about entering and leaving the bathroom connected to some of the rulings. So these are the rulings, this is the thing that you do. So before you go into the bathroom, you open the door, you enter with your left foot. And if you have slippers or if you have something that you want to put on, shoes, as many people do, what foot do you put it on with? Right. The right foot. Now, we looked at that last week. When you're putting on clothes, you put it on with the right. When you take off clothes, you take off with the left. The ulama have said when you come to a nice place, a place of virtue, you enter with your right foot and you leave with your left foot. If you're going to a place which has no virtue and which may be something which is not very good, you enter with your left foot and you leave with your right foot. When do we say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-Khubth wal Khubuth? Do you say inside the bathroom, or do you say outside the bathroom, or do you say when you're going in? As we saw in the hadith of Anas, إِذَا أَرَادَ أَن يَدْخُلْ. Now the irada comes from outside, the intention comes from outside. Open the door, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-Khubth, enter with your left foot. Then you put your slippers on, or wherever it is, with your right foot, and then your left foot. So there's a difference of your feet now. Then you sit down, and the ulama have said that you only expose your aura to the amount that you need. You only expose your aura to the amount that you need to. Now maybe this is to relieve yourself, but also that need maybe that you might think, okay, there may be some najasa that will fall on my clothes, so let me tuck it up a bit more, etc. So in that scenario, you would need to only take off how much you need. And then you clean yourself, and the ulama have said that it's recommended that you use water and you use other utensils or other facilities that you could have. And today, obviously, we don't have, this is known as istijmar. They used to use rocks, they used to use leaves maybe even to wipe the thing off, and then they used to wash themselves. So, it's recommended for you to do that also. And the ulama have said that when you are wiping, that you should do with a minimum of 3. It's mustahab, it's recommended that you should do a minimum of 3. So if you have some tissue, so you have a ball of tissue, 3 times doesn't mean you use 3 separate balls. You have 3 separate wipes of clean area. 1, 2, and 3. And then you wash yourself, or you can do it the other way around if you prefer, until you feel that the najasa has completely been removed. Then you leave and you wash your hands and you leave. What do we do about children? My child is 7, my child is 5. Maybe, okay, by that age maybe you should have taught them. Maybe he is 1, maybe he is 2. We teach them to say the dhikr. But if they are not able to do it, then the parent does it on their behalf. The parent does it on their behalf. Oh Allah, seek refuge. Or we seek refuge. Allahumma inna na'udhu bika. Khubth and Khubuth. You change the, or you can say it in English if you can't say it in Arabic. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you from the khubthi or the khubuthi wal kabaith. Can a person, does this now apply to the cubicles we have? Because this is again something which is new, which didn't exist at the time of the companions and the salaf of this ummah. That you have a separate area. So you have a room or a building, and you enter that building, and then when you enter the building, you have cubicles. So when is the point that you say, Allahumma inni a'udhu? Is it where you enter the room or the cubicle itself? What do you think? When you enter the room, Jazakallah khairan. It's when you enter the room. Some of the ulama say is when you enter the cubicle, and some of the ulama say is when you enter the room. The reason why they've said that there is this difference is that they've said that now when the room is not najis, that is not the area that you're going to do it. It's not the area of relief. The area of relief is that cubicle. Some of the ulama have actually even said that that cubicle doesn't take the same ruling as what we are talking about here. Because at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to go and they used to do what they have to do, and then they used to bury it. So the najasa is still there, but it's covered. Here, in what we have in our bathrooms, is the najasa is completely gone. It's completely flushed out. Now you've got pure, clean water coming in. So they've said that you do it when you enter the cubicle, not the room. Because the room is not najis. You are entering into an area where you are fearing khubth and khubuth, and it's only that particular area and that particular action. This is what some of the ulama have said. Shaykh Albani, rahimahullah, and others from the ulama. I asked this question to my Shaykh Sal Shithri, and Shaykh Sal Fawzan also has a fatwa on this. And this actually makes more sense in the Western context, is that you say the dua when you enter the room, not the cubicle. Because that whole area is a ghurfa, so to speak, it's a room. Even if it has cubicles, the shayatin can still maneuver in that area. That's point number 1. Point number 2, just because it gets flushed away doesn't mean that there's no najasa. As we know, when you go to the bathrooms here, doesn't mean there's no najasa surrounding. If there's najasa surrounding there, then it's also likely that the najasa can get transported in other areas around that room. Also, in a Western context, they don't have this in Saudi Arabia, but you have urinals. So a person doesn't even flush anymore. He just stands there and he does it, and he doesn't even clean, and he walks off from the urine, and the najasa is absolutely still there. So that makes it even more important that when we enter these areas, that we say it before we enter the room. And Sheikh Saad also mentioned a very good point, is that if we say it's just a normal room, would it be then something honourable for a person to enter that room, sit in the corner of the room and start reciting Qur'an, or start studying? Because if you're saying it's just a normal room and it's the cubicle itself which is the area of najasa, then there shouldn't be a problem with you doing this. But rationally, nobody will think like that. Nobody will say that you can go into those areas. So the Shaykh, I mean, this is an issue of ijtihad, and it's an issue of khilaf, and this will happen as culture and Muslims, move around the globe. But what is standing out to be the correct opinion is that when you enter the place or the room for najasa, or to relieve yourself, where you think najasa is going to be, that's when you say the dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubthi wal-khaba'ithi. And then when you leave that building, you say, or that room, you say ghufranak. Can we make dhikr in the bathroom, in our own bathrooms, or in that kind of a room where there are cubicles, but you want to maybe wash your hands or make wudu in a separate area? Based on what we have said before, you can't. Based on what you can't make it a place of dhikr. So what the ulama have said is that when you're in such a place, so now this is what Shaykh Albani said, that the bathroom that you have now in your house, if you go into that bathroom and say Bismillah aloud, no harm. There's no najasa there. This is not the place of khala. You see? Because it's clean. Everything is clean. The floor is clean. The water is clean. There's no najasa anywhere. You can't see it. So he said there's no harm. It's just a normal room. But like we've said before, it's probably safer, and the argument on the other side is better, where you would say, you would class this as a place of relieving oneself, and now if you want to make dhikr, you would do so in a quiet voice. Bismillah. And any other kind of supplication that you would want to. You wouldn't say anything else really, just say Bismillah. And the last mas'ala, is it permissible for us now, if you enter such a place, now we've said that you can't say anything verbally, you can't do acts of worship if you can't say things, if you can't recite the Quran or make dhikr in that place, then by more so, the Prophet ﷺ forbade us that you can't pray in the places of defecation, and so acts of worship in those places are not allowed. But can you think in those places? Because thinking is also an act of worship. If you think, for example, Allah saved me from that thing, alhamdulillah, internally, can you do that? Or Allah granted me something that I wanted, alhamdulillah, internally, whilst you're in that place. The ulama have said that thinking is an act of worship, but it's not a dhikr that you are prevented from doing in such a place. And some of the Salaf also used to have people used to read to them whilst they used to be in the bathroom. Read to them whilst they... Why would they do that? Have you ever had someone read to you, or you listen to a lecture whilst you're in the bathroom? Why would they do that? What would you think? The reason why they did that is because they saw going to the bathroom as being a waste of time. 5 minutes, I can't waste that time. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 20 minutes, I can't waste that time. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah used to have people with him all the time because he's such a knowledgeable person. And they used to benefit from him, and he used to benefit from them. And one of the ways that he used to benefit from is that they used to carry a book, and when he used to go to that place, they used to continue reading whilst he was in the bathroom. And we also know from the seerah and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, he used to have people accompanying him. Anas bin Malik used to accompany him on a regular basis. And if we were to extend what we have bathrooms for today, when the Prophet ﷺ liberated Makkah, he was partitioned off and he was making ghusl. And Hani came and she said, Assalamu alaikum to Prophet ﷺ, and we started talking to her and asking her how she was, etc., whilst he was in that state. But obviously that would be different if you were not in the bathroom. But if you were in the bathroom, then you wouldn't be speaking, etc. That's one of the ahkam as well. Is it permissible for us to talk? Not forget dhikr now. Is it permissible for us to talk in the bathroom? To each other or to a person outside? Or the ulama have said it is makruh. And it's permissible if there is a need for you to do so. But it's makruh. The reason why it's makruh is because when you're in the bathroom, there's two reasons. When you're in the bathroom, number one, you need to concentrate on what you're doing. Because we know from the hadith of Prophet ﷺ that two people were punished in the grave. وَمَا يُؤَذِّبَانِ بِالْكَبَائِرِ, that they were punished because of two major sins that they were committing. One person, he didn't protect himself from bowl, from urination, and the other person, كَانَ يَمْشِي بِالنَّمِيمَةِ, he used to walk, and the Prophet ﷺ has told us that if you don't take this seriously, then this is a very difficult scenario. So one of the reasons, and when the hikmah, the Prophet ﷺ never used to speak in the bathroom because of this reason, because he needs to concentrate. That's one reason. And another reason is that the Prophet ﷺ used to remember Allah even in his normal speech. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, MashaAllah, Inshallah. So if you're in the bathroom and somebody says to you, okay, I am going now, the immediate response will be, Assalamu alaikum, I'll see you later, Inshallah. So imagine you're in the bathroom and you say something now. So the best thing is to stop speaking altogether so that nothing like this can occur. These are some of the ahkam, and this is a brief explanation as to some of the vocabulary that we have from these two azkar that the Prophet ﷺ used to make in entering and leaving the bathroom. And bi'idhnillah, if Allah gives us iman and life, bi'idhnillah, next week we can look at some of the supplications surrounding al-wudu. Ask Allah to make this beneficial for us all and give us the iman and tawfiq to act upon the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and that He protects us in our daily lives and in our dunya and in our akhirah, and He guides us to the most upright way. هذا والله أعلم وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Yes.
Is there a specific dhikr that can be done on a regular basis to protect yourself from shaitan?
Is there a specific dhikr?
Regularly, I know like the morning ones you can do, the afternoon ones.
Is there a specific dhikr that you can do to protect yourself from shaitan? One of the biggest things that the ulama have mentioned is that one of the biggest things that you can do to repel the shaitan is not let him overcome you. And that's why Allah Jalla wa Ala says, أعوذ بك أن يحضرون, that they come and they overcome you, and they are constant present, and they are allowed to enter. And the reason why that would happen is if people are negligent, if people don't have iman, if people have bad practices, if people have bad peers, if people allow bad things to enter their homes. And unfortunately, even bad family members can bring shayatin with them. So this is one of the reasons why the shayatin either is because of a deficiency in ourselves or because of something we are allowing to enter. Now, the way that you can repel shaitan is simply because, I put it simply, but the answer is very simple, but it's hard for some people and it's easy for some people. Ask Allah to give us the tawfiq to have it, which is to have a Tawhid, an iman. Because this is one of the biggest things that the shayateen cannot handle. Tawheed and iman and strength in it will make a person determined in the dunya so that he can work for his akhirah. Because ultimately the shaitan wants you to go to Jahannam with him, and the only way that you can enter into Jahannam with him on a permanent basis is through having no Tawheed. Another way that you can repel is by making dhikr. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللهم إني أعوذ بك الخبث والخبائث, and all of these, اللهم إني أعوذ بك أن يحضرون, as lies. Also, this is dhikr. Also, we learn from what the ulama have said is that when a person has wasawis from the shaitan, is that he should counteract that waswas. So if the shaitan is telling you to do something, then you should do the opposite. If the shaitan has said to you, you haven't done this, or you should do this, then you should refute it in yourself. You should refute it in yourself. If you cannot do this, then you should not pay attention to it. If you cannot do this, not pay attention to it, but use your time wisely. Because the shaitan will only attack a person when the person is idle. The shaitan will only attack a person when a person is idle. If a person, and this happens on a daily basis, if people have bad thoughts, people are alluded to sin or do something, mainly when they're alone. You can cut out the bad people, bad influences, you can have good influence, you can change all of that. But the test for a lot of people is when they're alone. When they're alone, does the shaitan come? And that only can come if you have strength in iman, if you are idle, if you are not idle, if you are allowing them to enter. There's a question here where the sister is asking, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Does it matter what foot we enter when reciting dua of the toilet? And what about when we say Bismillah before performing wudu? Can we say if there is a toilet next to us? think we talked about this. I think we talked about this in the lecture. When you enter the bathroom, you enter with your left foot, and you leave with your right foot. And if you're in the bathroom, you can say Bismillah in a quiet voice, whispering it to yourselves, but not in an audible voice, because that is not the place of making dhikr. Any questions?
So when you're in the bathroom, or in the toilet, and someone talks to you, just to acknowledge them, could you just do a grunt sound?
Is it permissible for you to make sounds in the bathroom instead of speech? That is not speech in order for them to acknowledge. Sounds is not considered as being speech. So that would be permissible if you feel that that's what you need to do. But the ulama have said that it's makruh for you to speak in the bathroom. But if there is a need, then you can speak. But that need also is very limited according to the amount of need that you need. So if a person is saying, I need to use the bathroom, hurry up, open the door, 1 minute, that's sufficient. There's no makruh in that. Grunting would not suffice that person, probably. So in that scenario, it would be permissible for you to talk if you have a need to do so. But if you don't have a need, then it's better not to speak.
When would you say Ghufran? Maybe inside the bathroom?
When do we say Ghufranak? Ghufranak would be said in an audible voice once you have left the bathroom. So you leave with your right foot. When you're outside, then you say Ghufranaka. Because this now fulfills the meaning of the dhikr itself, and it also preserves the bathroom from using the dhikr of Allah.
Can you do dhikr but you are not in a state of wudu while you're sleeping?
Is it permissible for us to make dhikr of Allah without being in a state of wudu? If we look at what the Prophet ﷺ, what the author said here, in the dhikr of waking up, Prophet ﷺ, when he used to wake up in his night prayer, he used to recite the ayah, Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard, wa ikhtilafi al-layli wan nahar, until the end of Surah Al-Imran. And the Prophet ﷺ used to wake up, rubbing his eyes, and he used to recite this ayah. So from the fiqh of this, understanding of this, the ulama have said that you don't need to have dhikr, you don't need to have wudu to make dhikr. الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَىٰ, that they remember Allah when they are sitting, when they are standing, and when they are lying down. And lying down now also includes when you don't have wudu. Some of the issue now also here connected to this is that if, and we know from the virtues, as I believe we will see, of making wudu, is that if you make wudu and you go to sleep in a state of purification, an angel descends and he makes dua for you throughout the whole night. If you make wudu, or you have to make ghusl, for example, maybe, before, not afterwards. And you make it that you're purified before you. The angel descends and he makes dua for you for the whole night. Well, the problem is now, sometimes when you go to lie down, you might break your wudu. Or maybe you wipe over your socks and you pray qiyam or something like that, and then you take your socks off, and if you think that it's going to nullify your wudu, you have no longer wudu anymore and you go to sleep. So the ulama have said is that you go to sleep with the state of purity. And then once you are lying, even before you go to sleep, once you are lying, even if you lose your wudu, before you go to sleep, then that doesn't matter, that you have still fallen into that hadith from the rahmah of Allah. So it is permissible for you to remember Allah without having any dhikr. And we also know from the hadith here that we took last week also, that the Prophet ﷺ said that if a person wakes up in the middle of the night, he says, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, subhanallah wa hamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim rabbik filli. This is when he wakes up in the middle of the night, he's on his pillow and he is half asleep, maybe it's 2 o'clock at night, and you say this, and then even if you go back to sleep, Allah will answer your dua if you do this. And the hadith continues, if he wakes up and he thinks, okay, this is a good opportunity, let me wake up, go do wudu, and let me pray at least 2 rakat, Allah will accept that 2 rakat from you. He'll accept your dua and He'll accept your salah. So this clearly shows us within what we looked at last week, that a person doesn't have wudu, but he can still make dhikr and it will be accepted from him, even if it is dua, even if it's dhikr which is of mas'ala or dhikr which is of ibadah.
I have a quick question, sir, but it's not related to the topic.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
You know, when you go to sleep and say, for example, I wake up and I use the bathroom, I go downstairs, I come back. Do I have to do all the sleeping azkar again? The first time I did it, is that sufficient?
If a person is going to sleep and he's made the azkar for sleeping, and then he wants to go and do something else before he goes to sleep, then that is included in the dhikr for going to sleep. Even though it's better that he makes the dhikr the last thing that he does, because the Prophet ﷺ used to do some of these azkar whilst he was lying down. But it is sufficient for you to make all of that, and if there is a need for you to get up and go and then come back, you don't need to start again now.
How about if I fall asleep, wake up, go, then come back, and then go?
No. Then these azkar are said before going to sleep. The person is asking here, if a person wakes up, he does the dhikr, then he goes to sleep, then he wakes up in the middle of the night, then he goes and does something, then he wants to go back to sleep, does he have to make the azkar for sleeping again? No, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to, because he's already slept. And these azkar, the ulama have said, refer to when the person wants to go to sleep at night time from the outset. From the outset. And we also know this from the Prophet ﷺ. After he used to pray the tahajjud, he used to lie down on his right and he used to wait for Bilal to make the adhan. It's not narrated that when he used to wake up, but the habit of the Prophet ﷺ is straight after Isha he used to go to sleep. He used to sleep for a third of the night. And then he used to stand for half of the night. And what would be left over, a sixth, he used to lie down and wait for the adhan. So what we learn from this is that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to go back to sleep, but he didn't make the dhikr for going to sleep again. And we also learn from this also that if you were having a nap during the day, if you're having qaylula or something like this, you don't need to make all of the adhkar, because most of those adhkar are for the night time. So that's what the ulama have said, that these adhkar for going to sleep are for the night time and not for the daytime, or not for waking up and then going back to sleep. But it is better for you to say some of them if you are able to. So you don't need to make all the recitation of seeking protection with Ayatul Kursi and the last Baqarah. You don't need to do al-Falaq, an-Nas. You don't need to do all of that again. But it would be better for you to say, for example, Bismika Allahumma amutu wa ahya. Because this is general of people going to sleep and being resurrected. That is general for nighttime, daytime, and going back to sleep within the middle of the night. And this is the opinion of Taymiyyah. Some of the ulama have said, no, it's exclusive just for the nighttime, for the beginning. And this is the opinion of the Hanabila. Others from the ulama have said, no, it's only for the daytime and the nighttime. But the balanced way, like we've said, of some of the mashayikh, is that you don't need to do all of them again. But if you do Bismika Allahumma amutu wa ahya and the ones that are similar, it would be better for you to do that. And that's for daytime and nighttime, and if you are interrupted in your sleep. Barakallah.